fucking wild.
But only when people are mad. Like, you need, like, a majority of people to be mad, it seems.
Gotta have a global controversy to get the Animal Crossing kids to wake up for it. Yeah, I guess my issue with it is that, like, I grew up on StarCraft where people just said the most fucking crazy shit to each other, and so I was like
Yes.
born and bred through the madness. And
Is
also,
that like EVE Online too, where like the things people say just sound like foreign to anybody who's never played the game?
well, there was some of that, but that was just like early, like, oh, you got pwned or something like that. Like someone would be like, what does that mean? And I realized it was like derivative
Weird.
of owned, and owned is kind of the, like, what people say the R word is, right? For, or not like retard, but the grape one, right? Fucking the SA version of the R word. Like, it's like, okay, you get,
I never
it's
even
like
knew
they
that.
yeah, I only really thought this through within the last year or two, where it's like, oh, maybe that's where like getting owned by someone is kind of like an analogy, and it became
that sounds
more.
like something like the Southerners in America would say, because they're slave owners.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely we
Bad
adopted
joke.
most of
Bad
this
joke.
culture from the U.S. To
Sorry,
be fair,
Tom.
but Tom's putting up with our bullshit in the
Tom's
background. He's
actually
just-
from New York, so
He's farming us.
he came down here and he
Tom
adopted
could,
the
like,
culture
legit
and then got
convince
himself
me.
some slaves.
Yeah, Tom could like legit convince me he's a Southern redneck without even trying. He'd just be like, yeah,
It wasn't his past life.
I'm in
yeah.
Kentucky. I've chased black people with my pickup truck. No big deal.
Oh my god.
Dragged him from behind, even.
Oh my God, Zone. Yeah. Now that's too
Sorry.
far.
Yeah, like.
Thank you,
so-
Careful Dragon, for the
I
membership.
just want to point out,
Those
like, this
two.
wasn't always the case that you could just say KYS to people, right? Like, they're like,
Online,
I got
you
kicked
used
out
to
of
be able to
Prime
say
Kai's.
everything.
I got kicked off of Prime Kai's panel for like a year because
Wait.
I said KYS to somebody
Prime
in
Kai's
DMs.
is soy as fuck. Like, respectfully.
Soy,
Well,
soy
I would
doesn't
say
mean
it
Nice
used to
what
be
you mean.
tits.
What you
Sorry.
mean by soy is
Sorry.
you mean that like what you mean is that they're progressive, right?
That's basically what soy means. Yeah. Super
say
That's
less.
not
it
basically
used
what it
to
means. You're
be-
using a meme word, and because like this is what I mean about articulation, right? Like soy can mean a few different things for different people. If you were actually trying to hit your mark, you would call out the people who you actually mean. You're talking about liberal progressives who take like leftist ideas, package them in a nice bow that feels comfy to them, and only half apply them in ways that half matter.
Well, it's also just sometimes like when people are cringe,
that what you
right?
meant?
Like I was saying before, when people used to say gay in like the
Liberals are
90s,
super cringe.
they meant cringe, right? When someone's just being like really annoying, you're like, it's kind of cringe. So it's like when someone's being annoying, you're like, this guy's being soy. And it's like, I mean, it's basically like tone policing. It's a certain brand of annoying where, like, again,
Did you know
adults
that
are in a
there's
room
actually
like,
a link to the neurotransmitter oxytocin with that? What it has to
With
do with is
what, with
actually
being soy?
perceiving. Yeah, it has to do with perceiving like us versus them dynamics. And it turns out when oxytocin is higher, you're more likely to sympathize with the us group and like reject, like see cringe in like the them group, right?
when
so
oxytocin is higher.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the people who have stronger cringe responses, like this could also be like there's all sorts of things that lead to this, but one of the main
Don't
things
you get
is,
more
like,
oxytocin from human touch? Like, from skin to skin contact? It's one of like the large sources
it's
of it.
not as
people having-
simple as that. That's the oversimplification
Sure,
that they put
sure.
in pop magazines. It's a
Nice,
little bit
nice,
more
nice.
complicated.
I see.
And I don't want to nerd out too hard, but the key takeaways is that like when we're seeing cringe in other people, like sometimes that makes sense because like for example self-immolation, like we're having an empathetic response as if that's us, and that's really painful, right? So we cringe. But on the
I
other
don't
side
mean
of things,
that cringe.
yeah,
Sorry,
I
go
know,
on.
But on the other side of things, once we start making it about like social faux pas and politeness, there's two really good videos I can send you on this. Then it ends
Homework.
up becoming
Sorry,
about like
go on.
us versus them dynamics and like feeling like we're better than the other person.
Yeah, I don't know that those are the feelings I have about it, but I mean, I'm open to watching whatever thing. It could be interesting, of course. Don't get me wrong.
Do you
so
ever
feel free to
do you
DM
cringe
it
at
or-
things that you like perceive yourself as capable of doing still? So like there are always things that we've done in the past that we cringe at, so I'm not really asking about that. But like if I did something that you would still think of yourself as being reasonable to do, can you imagine yourself ever cringing?
If it's something that I would also do, would I find it cringy? Or could I find it cringy? That's the question.
At this moment.
If it's something I would also do, currently, I would imagine not, unless it's something I know. I feel cringy that I'm doing too, right? But if I find it
But
cringe,
you
I
have to
won't
acknowledge it's
do it.
cringy, and you probably wouldn't want to do it anymore, right?
If I thought it was cringe, I wouldn't be doing it. Like, for example, I stopped using the word retard for 6 months during a period of time where I was dating a feminist like 10 years ago or something like this. It might have been longer that I wasn't using the word retard. I was not smoking weed for 6 months. I'm conflating those two numbers. But regardless, it was like a year-long relationship. It was probably actually the whole year, to be honest. And like her mom worked with children who were mentally disabled, and she, again, very staunch feminist, was giving me her whole reasoning of, if you connect this to that, you shouldn't use F-slur. And it was like, let's break out of my suburb mentality and maybe grow up a little bit. And then I realized that this person was a pretentious and arrogant cunt, and that her whole ideology was fucking nonsense. And I realized that I'm not using a word.
Why did that
that's offending
announce
people
kick
that I'm not even
4
talking about.
times?
And like I said,
Oh,
I
3
would think
times.
it's socially retarded to walk up
Which
to like
ones?
one of those handicapped kids going, "Hey, you little retard!" It's like, what are you doing? That's fucking. You're the retard for doing
That's
that.
what
That's
you wind up
insane.
doing when you scream at that at random people on the internet. Is all I'm saying, right? Like you
That's
can't
what, sorry?
avoid that. You can't avoid doing that if you scream it randomly at people on the internet. You're eventually going to stumble across someone with a developmental disorder.
Yeah. I think sometimes if I go autism, right? Like I think someone's being cringy, and I said type autism in the thing. There's a good chance the person might actually have autism. I'm okay with that. If I say this person's fucking retarded, I don't think that it's.
Are
There's
autistic people okay with that?
Are the autistic people okay with that?
Do you think it's fair
It's
to
not-
them to be calling them out? Like they don't like. What if someone was like, and this is just like me taking
think
inflections
sorry,
from your
go on.
tone and stuff like that, but like, oh, he sounds really black right now, right? And if you're black, don't you think that would be like, wouldn't you insinuate the like this is a less than opinion? This person doesn't deserve to be at the table, sort of thinking.
If you said he sounds black,
yeah, this opinion sounds
no,
really
because I don't think that being black has any connection to having a lesser opinion. I think it's like a cultural as well as like
But you know, people will use it that way.
racists will use it that way.
Exactly.
But I'm saying that the thing itself is not racist, because you could hear someone go, "This guy sounds black," and then you see him on webcam, you see he's white, and you're like, "Holy shit! I thought that guy was black. He sounds black. His
I
voice
think
is
the
like."
point
That's
she's
why I
trying
pointed out
to
I
make-
haven't seen you.
I think the
Okay.
point she's trying to make is like essentializing you down to something specific like that, something that isn't even necessary to point out in the first place.
That's been
So,
used
like-
derogatorily in the past as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Even if it hasn't been, like the fact that it's just suddenly out of nowhere you're gonna single them out because they seem like they're this specific trait is
Sure.
it feels very reductive and essentializing to that one trait. So I think that's sort of the point you're making, right?
Yeah,
I don't
so
know
like
if this,
while
like,
your intention
reducing
isn't to
and
single people out,
essentializing
people
issue
will
is
feel.
the-
But while your intention isn't to single out, people will feel singled out by it, especially
Right,
when it
but I'm
hits.
saying like that feeling almost doesn't. It's not registering, I guess, as I try and process. Like, okay, someone says autism. I'm sitting there, I have autism, and they're like, can you not just kind of acknowledge that there is a pattern of what feels like autistic behavior? That's what people are referring to by using the word.
Are you sure
and-
you can define autistic behavior in like a proper way and not a way that's reductive to what autism is really like for the
Well,
person?
when it's being
experiencing it?
used in a chat room like this, it is being used as a colloquial term, not as a diagnosis. To be clear,
Yeah, it almost seems
It's
like a
basically
colloquial
like-
term for queerness, to be honest.
for queerness.
Yeah, for anything that doesn't fit the status quo.
No, it's a very specific type of mental engagement. Like, I say this respectfully, but you know Quibbles?
Well,
When
okay,
he's quibbling about stuff? Like, the way that he quibbles around certain things, and I say this with love, I'm genuinely not trying to be disrespectful to him. People would refer to that as like an autistic approach to conversation in general. What's up?
But is it? That's what I'm asking.
It doesn't
Is
matter if it is scientifically diagnosed as such. The colloquial function is that it is of a certain nature that is different than if you were to look at a normie, quote unquote, and their patterns of speech, right? I say that I have autism. I say that I'm retarded because I do think I'm a weird, fucking strange person who articulates himself differently than the majority and the large norm. I don't have these diagnoses from a doctor, but they are very much kind of whatever how I perceive myself
You are
as being
definitely
like
demonstrating privilege, like ableist privilege, with
ableist privilege. I don't have a disability,
like as
so I can.
someone who has grown up being called retarded in multiple ways and also has Asperger's and schizophrenia.
I've definitely been called
I don't have
retarded.
the luxury of
So
hearing
that's
these words as not being derogatory. They are implicitly, there is no colloquial definition for me because
Inherently.
they have their intrinsically damaging definition, which is why part of the my insecurity and my anxiety is fending off those voices inside of me which try to apply those, where I try to like say like, oh, that thing I just did was super retarded, or like, why am I being so autistic right now? Because that actually is damaging to me. That makes me want to give up. That's demotivating, and it gives me it strengthens some of the negative or the deficit features of my schizophrenia, like avolition, which is partially why I don't stream.
I see.
So yes, this has all had.
Did you
like,
used to stream
massive
and that stopped from it?
impact.
Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Gotcha.
Not regularly, because I was always putting up with a lot of different forces from all different angles in real life, for example.
Totally. It's hard to allocate such time for something that the ROI.
I never
is like-
could do it professionally, just because.
Abby Blackbird for $4.99 said, "Respect is earned, not given. Your label doesn't change the quality of person." Thank you, Abby.
Right.
Yeah, so
but
that
like,
kinda, I
let's
think,
let's
goes-
say I get called autistic, and then but that's from a bigger streamer, and then people get that impression of me, and they might start treating me differently, right? So even though that is used colloquially, people are going to have that colloquial impression and treat me in a way that's misaligned from what autism first really is, and what might actually be fair to me overall for how I really am.
I can get you. I'm down to take that road in a second, but I think it's a slightly different conversation about if we're talking about like a large public figure kind of singling out a voice of like that whole dynamic. I think is a thing we can totally go down. But I just wanted to ask one or
We're
two
all
questions.
influencers here, right? We're all trying to be, at least to some degree.
Sure, but I mean, there's a kind of scale difference if we're talking about like a Hassan or Destiny being like, hey, you small creator or individual chatter, like you're autistic, and then everyone else in the GGG or the whatever chat it might be goes, yeah, fuck this guy, what an idiot, and then feeling kind of like an insane level of dogpiling. Because that was another
with
thing
power comes responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a lot of conversation to be had around that. I have disagreements with people about potentially what the scale of difference is between people, because people feel like if I'm smaller, I can just do whatever and there's no accountability. I'm like, we still have to be playing kosher, but there's less impact to what you're doing. It doesn't mean you can't just be a piece of shit if you don't have above a million
I
or something.
actually give a fresh perspective on this, which is that when
Sure.
people are just starting out and they're not big, like this applies more to leftists, by the way, because like, you know, I'm always thinking about how we can get more leftists into these discussion spaces. We have to think about like I forget what the word for it is, but there's
It's so
a particular
fucking
word for, like,
cringy.
taking in
I thinking
people
about
and actually
how we can
helping
get
them
more
established.
leftists into this
And I think
discussions
that's where,
with
we want to have the most constructive
leftists.
criticisms directed at them.
And
Not
the
make a big deal when I
discussions
fuck ups,
spaces.
not make a huge deal if they get something wrong.
Kill
Just
me.
try to guide them to be better.
Yeah, I think that's a much more. I mean, if we're talking about like
And
being
avoid punching
constructive
down.
in a, what's it?
and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
That's
think we should be against punching down. Is my big thing.
okay. There, I take slight issue. Sorry, I want to ask
Depends how
one quick
bad.
question or
Like,
two that I don't
just-
want to.
Because someone can
Yeah,
be awful,
again,
right?
I
Like if
think
they're
there's a
awful,
s-
then this all goes out the door.
Yeah, because I don't want to be giving people like this invincibility thing, and it's also going back to comedy. It's just like an ethical thing. It's one of those people say don't punch it down, but in a way, it's like saying, oh, and there's a difference there where it's jokes versus insults. I want to kind of be clear that I'm stretching a little bit beyond to just like articulate a thought here, but in a way, it's like everyone gets these jokes. There's kind of if I say you're unable to take jokes, and again, this is talking about comedy in good faith with everyone's laughter in as the intent. If it's like, oh, we can't joke about these people, it's almost really saying like, oh, they can't handle it, they're below us, so we'll just joke about everyone else.
It's not.
But
that
so with punching, with conflict, punch down stuff in like a debate
Real
sphere, I
quick,
think it's a different
for
conversation. Yo,
777 in euros, I think, Saxon7 said, "Hey, it's my birthdays. So could you call me the N-word instead of autistic? Thanks. I'm just a N1663R
TOS.
Palestine
TOS.
in the waiting room with a self mirror."
Okay, so
Happy birthday, Saxon.
happy birthday. So to
Happy
really
birthday.
Happy birthday,
respond,
Saxon.
it's not that we don't think that we can handle the jokes, right? I think that when the culture of comedy is built on a reductionist view of what these mental health struggles are like, it makes it harder for us to advocate for ourselves first, and then have a culture of comedy which actually represents us properly. Because
Sure, and I was
what you're
stretching-
describing
sorry.
is a culture that doesn't represent us properly at all.
Yeah,
No
and
one
I-
cares
and
about
I was-
representing you. It's comedy. You're not meant to represent anyone. And also, punching down is totally fine. Get fucked.
Comedy
I love
does
Mantis,
represent
yeah.
people.
Hi,
Like, for
Mantis.
example, I learned so much about middle
It's my
class
girl right there.
marriages from comedy because so many comics are white class,
Who
or
cares?
white middle class males in a marriage, and so that's generally what most comedy is.
To be fair, too, I was
like-
very much stretching
With regard
beyond
to
the
like,
realms of like.
with regard to coming into the space, I think that one of the things really important because you can't really control everybody, right? So, and you may end up with somebody who's a bigger streamer who says some shit about you or labels you in a way that's very dismissive. What's really important, I think, is to just sort of charge on beyond that, ignore that, and dictate your.
I want to
own
jump in there so bad, but
reputation by making
I can't
a
do it.
consistent effort and show who you are as a
the higher ups
person.
are pissing
And it
on
will
those climbing up the
eventually
ladder.
overcome those who have worked against you.
It just seems like, and this might just be my experience as a trans woman. Maybe it's different for other groups, but it's been a lot.
Oh my
of,
god,
like,
Ninetales,
crap.
in this conversation, you've
Oh my
brought
God,
up
Mantis,
Asperger's,
you're
you've
already
brought up
freaking out, you
schizo,
just
and
got
you've,
here.
you've brought up ableism,
Oh my
and you've brought
God.
up a trans woman. So
You're the
what you're
most
doing is
sensitive
playing
person
forgetful
here right
victim,
now.
and no one's allowed to say anything because you just
You're
want to
being the
cry
most
about
sensitive
having all of
person
these
here right
things.
now. You're being the
She
most
was
sensitive
charging
No,
up
person.
the key in chat. Had to blast the
No,
comment in there real
honestly,
quick.
that's exactly what's happening here. Is you say punching down and it's ableist and blah blah blah, but nobody owes anyone anything, and like no one really owes anyone anything. And what you're demanding of people is they owe you. So, and I think that's fucked. The world doesn't owe anyone anything. You go out there, you build resilience, you have fun, you joke
Yeah,
around,
flow state.
you fucking punch up, you punch
Talked to
down,
him
you
a
do
couple
whatever.
times, yeah.
It's like you're ruining shit. That's what you're
All
doing.
around.
Is it really?
Everyone
that
can be a
difficult to-
victim.
Oh, Karen. Is it really
Everyone
that-
can be a victim.
Is it really that hard to hear? Like, you should also be accountable for what you do if you want to call yourself an adult who's a grown up and can handle these things.
Well, this is an
Yeah.
Also, I
entertainment
think you should be-
medium, so you're kind of dealing with a lot of entertainment elements and things that are really vying for.
But why is
The
ableism
attention
so
of people,
entertaining
right?
for us, though? Why is it?
It's
then
so
why is
funny.
ableism so?
Because it's just funny. You can't help what you think is funny. Sometimes the most like mean things can be hilarious. I've made plenty of genocide jokes this last few weeks, and everyone's like, It's obviously not like I want genocide. It's a fucking joke.
So why,
It's a way
Mantis?
to-
why aren't
it's a
you
way to
applying
dance
this
around
logic
dark
in
topics,
reverse?
too.
Where like if like you can't handle me talking about this right now, so
No,
suddenly
I think
like
it's fine that you're talking about it. I just think you're not getting enough pushback. Jube is being far too nice to you, and it's actually boring the fuck out of
Thank you,
everyone in
Jube.
chat.
I apologize,
Sorry,
everybody.
So is
Chat.
everyone
Yo,
bored?
I
How's
should be
it going,
more of
chat?
a fucking.
I was enjoying that.
No, I
I
think
was
that you
not
should be
jealous. I
nice
had
to
a-
I was
people.
just
I think
vibing.
that like you do have an obligation to be nice to people. I think you have an obligation to not be, not even to be nice,
No,
but
you
to
don't.
not be rude. Yes, you do. That is part of
Wait,
being
wait.
in a civilized society or being a civilized person. I guess you
we
don't
make-
have an
It's not an obligation.
obligation
We make-
to be a civilized person.
Or, I'm not even
but
gonna
I
be-
think
I'm
you
not even gonna
don't-
say nice,
but
because-
real quick, I would say yes. I would say you don't have an obligation to be nice, but you do have an obligation to not be bad and not be
Yeah,
a
don't be a jackass.
yeah, don't be
Yeah,
a bad
yeah,
person to be.
For sure.
Unless
Yeah,
you're
so
the
you
you
jackass
also don't
crew
have an
or Kenny
obligation.
Hot.
No,
Kenny
it's
Hot
not an
has a
obligation.
license to be a jackass.
So
Yeah.
It's not an
here's-
obligation.
I'm kind of like in the middle with this because Tom, even though I would agree with you in general society, we're in an entertainment space where we're all
Exactly.
fiscally incentivized to be entertaining
Oh,
and to
sure,
compromise on these
there's-
things.
Yeah, but that doesn't. So that doesn't change though, right? So like if I say things that, like again, I talked about this earlier. Like if I say the N word, I call somebody retarded. Like if I say any of these things, I'm still gonna admit that like I probably shouldn't say those things, even though I have an incentive to say those things, and I might say them anyway sometimes. I'm still gonna bite the bullet that I shouldn't say those things, right?
I
Wait,
think
what
it's
if
the
someone
issue
is being an
the
asshole
should.
and they are being retarded?
But there's other words
Yeah.
that you can use that don't throw people with disabilities under the bus in the process.
I
But these
wouldn't-
words are
I
better,
wouldn't
they're funny.
Back the word
consider-
from-
I wouldn't. Well, here's the other thing. I feel like
You
we're
just admitted
pretty-
how
giving
like the
gimps
whole
back.
culture profits from throwing people with disabilities under the bus by using words that affect us without acknowledging how they affect us, because our voices have basically disappeared in this space. If you wonder how they disappeared and how people who object to this term have disappeared, it's because of cultures like this. So if you want to stop throwing us under the bus and actually have voices of people with disabilities around here, you do have to kind of have language that doesn't discriminate against us. It's just the way it is.
Something.
well, there's plenty
my-
of people who have disabilities in this space who still have their voices heard.
Absolutely. You're acting
Right.
like
There's
there's
some that
silence
also like the
outside
word
of
With an extra
people.
caveat that much fewer and far between than it seems to be in normal reality. A lot of people who I know with disabilities who
It's a small
who start in this
regardless,
space.
though, right?
No,
It's pretty like it depends what kind of disability we're talking about, right? If we take it to like tinnitus that I have, like it's a disability, but I'm not like you couldn't tell if I didn't tell you that I have it, right? Like it's just inside my head is the ringing, but it's a disability that fucks with every day of my life. So I feel like, yeah, sure, lots of people might be disabled, but like blatantly disabled in a way that people could point out to then mock or belittle, and like who's looking at people in wheelchairs going like, haha, you're handicapped? Like that's not a thing that's happening in life, really.
what you've all described is like the way in which disabled people become invisible, which is we're trying to say like, look, these terms.
I hope you
are
become
used
invisible, Ninetales,
to
you
hold us
stupid
back to
fuck.
dismiss what we're saying.
My God.
Like whether it's the Arsler or Schizo, like Schizo is just more personal to me in that I can say I recently come out having learned
Sure.
about it about a year ago and then decided I'm going to tell the server about this and see what the reaction is. And within a week, I was banned from the server after being treated like dog shit by the owner. And during that time, there were people who were saying, "Oh, you're schizo. How can you have an opinion? That's good." They literally said that. So my point being that
Hi,
like,
Virginia.
you may say that like, oh, this
Thanks.
is entertainment. This is entertainment because you've effectively disappeared people who are actually advocating
Good
for
night.
disabilities.
I'm pretty open about being dyslexic, and I struggle also with physical disability and neurological issues beyond just dyslexia. I'm pretty open about it. I don't really deal with too much. Once in a blue moon, I catch something, but it's pretty rare. It's not like it's a
I'm
wave of
glad
people.
you don't. I don't want you to, just to be clear. But that like, just because you haven't had those experiences doesn't mean that I haven't had those experiences. I've talked to multiple people who aren't here anymore, so it's kind of hard to like bring them around for testimonials to say like, yeah, we've also had these experiences. But the hardest, like Zonia, like I don't recognize, I recognize that you've succeeded as a trans woman with disabilities. The majority of trans women with disabilities in this spaces have not. It's just the way it is.
That's the majority of people in this space, though. Like there's like 9 million people who stream on Twitch, and there's like 100 people that are successful at it. You know what I mean?
Right. So
like
do you not see how
unironically.
the issue becomes that you wind up start speaking over the people with like
that's-
in these
that's
minority
all-
groups? Because you're only
like-
getting
like,
a minority
as
of the
an ex-
minority.
Well, no. Actually, trans people are overrepresented on Twitch. We were talking about this the other day. Like, there's panels with like 4 or 5.
Overrepresented. Yeah, no, they're not overrepresented compared to society. They're overrepresented compared to what your general expectations are set by their
No, they're
Compared
actually
to their
specifically-
proportionality
Well-
within society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
proportion
Well,
of them in society is
a lot
like
of us-
0.6%.
so
But they're not
a lot of-
over,
on
their
Twitch is, like,
voices are not
40 to whatever.
overrepresented on panels, and that they're not the majority of most panels about trans issues.
No, but they're
Nobody thinks that.
overrepresented to their population percentage, right?
But
Like, per
that
capita,
doesn't
they're-
that doesn't really make a big
That's what
difference at the end of the
Well,
day. That
Isn't
doesn't
that
make a
what
big
the
difference.
Part of the reason why we're overrepresented in these spaces is because of the fact that we find a lot of availability of community and outlets for ourselves as trans people.
This is a space
online.
where they're actually
So-
welcome.
And there's a lot more acceptance of us, particularly in Twitch poll, right? So
Yeah, one of the few
observers
places
are-
where
there's going to be
actually
more
let those things
gravitation.
come around.
There's going to be more gravitation toward here.
Sure.
So you're going to see more
what-
of us around.
What
here.
I am saying is that if you actually sampled the panels where trans issues are being discussed by large amounts of viewers, scaled them based on how many viewers are taking in those ideas, and then ask yourself how much airtime do trans people actually get? If
Wait,
it-
what-
you-
what is
No
Alien
way are you
viewers, that
doing this
doesn't-
right now. There is ain't no
Overrepresentation?
fucking way you're saying
Overrepresentation?
this shit right now.
overrepresentation on trans issues would mean that we're around to have more airtime on those issues because we're representing ourselves.
That's,
Well,
that's
How
not-
about-
this is
how about-
this is
how
this is
about-
why
how about this?
panels are not a good format for that. That's where you
How about-
want to be. You want to
How
be
about
sort of
you're
the.
overrepresenting
Hold
on
on.
every other issue except
Hold
for
on.
trans.
Hold on.
I'm not complaining about other issues.
what
I'm complaining
works
about
better-
the discussion around trans issues, Tom.
So panels
As a
don't.
cis woman, I feel underrepresented on panels, especially about feminism.
True.
Usually they're
Bring
filled with
back
trans
cis women
people.
and
So what about that?
lesbians.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
panels
that-
are
that
panels
could- that
are,
could use
are
to
a
change too.
terrible
Sure.
panels are a terrible format for representation of any single group.
They don't have to be.
God awful. So so if you want to have something that's going to be where you're going to be giving a lot of airtime to trans voices, then you need to set up something that's very specific. Okay, we're going to have this trans person on to give their take and their perspective on this thing, and that's what it's going to be about. So it's going to be a little bit more of a lecture, less of a panel, right?
Well, no, because trans people still have internal disagreements on things all the time.
So you could do like an all
Most all
trans
trans
panel or
panel?
something.
Yeah, like all black like Prime's all black. He did all trans everything a couple times too.
So,
I wanna-
you see, you could do things like that. I don't know how much
In my
attention that
theory,
would get.
my hypothesis is that if you did an all disabled everything or whatever, or all abled everything, if you really want to do the counteractive language, if you did that kind of panel and then you had an r-slur discussion topic, the whole like, oh well, this is just colloquial language thing wouldn't go through as easily, much like how like, oh well, if you say the soft n word, then that's just colloquial language, right, and everyone should be cool with it. That didn't fly for very long too on all black everything panels.
But what part of what makes these things entertaining is the disagreement, the fervent disagreement. That's why you mix it up like that, so you get the contention and everything, right?
If you're one-dimensional, yes, but this has a lot to do with the kind of audiences we attract, right? So like what you're talking about is point scoring. And yes, point scoring is one way to attract the audiences that are less likely to be fully focused on the entire discussion or care about specifics. But we can also attract more informed audiences, more mature audiences who care about genuine discussion. And the more genuine discussions we actually have, the more audiences will attract into the genuine discussion. This is actually
This
something.
sounds like building a
Can I just
completely
point this out?
different thing, though. Sorry, go on.
Well, go ahead.
Well, we do need to do. That's my
or
point.
changing the
It's-
culture.
We've become like
Sure.
too one-dimensional in how we try to appease our audience, and this has become like a basin of attraction for the type of audience who we lose quickly the moment we actually start discussing issues, which is counteractive to the pull part of Twitch poll.
I
in
actually
my opinion.
disagree with this. I think the leftist who wants to control language is the cult of religion that if you step outside these bounds, you are a
cult?
blasphemous heretic and you are exiled because you can't actually have a critical thought if you are one
You
of
are
the
a heretic.
tone
We
police
use that language
squad.
often. We always call people heretics,
Yeah,
so that's
That's
true.
fucking insane.
Well,
That's fucking insane. That's a pseudo
first off,
respectfully.
a really important thing to point out: Twitch poll is a misnomer. Sure, we talk about
Sure.
politics, but
It's more
it
for
is
social.
Let's call it
entertainment.
debate poll.
It is entertainment constructed around political topics. So there's not genuine, like there are a couple of people like IRI or Lonerbox who are more like genuinely political coverage,
Serious.
but most of the participants are doing entertainment with political topics.
So what you're saying is true as like a snapshot of where things are currently at, but that is certainly not how it started. Debate poll, and I'm just going to say this to take it away from Twitch because we're also on YouTube and stuff like that. Debate poll really started like not just with Destiny, but with like groups that were having political debates. And like journalistic outlets like TYT who were bringing in more informed audiences who wanted genuine debates. When I first started this on MDD, there were plenty of people who praised my first debate on trans athlete stuff, not because I was point scoring, but because I genuinely knew what I was talking about, and I went through every single thing with somebody who did not know what the fuck they were talking about. So
Yeah,
people like to see
MDD is
someone
more
informed
like
dunk on
is
someone.
more legitimate debate, like
Well, James-
straightforward
modern day
debate.
James
debate.
sucks. No, James sucks. I'm not promoting
Well,
MDD. They suck.
well, James doesn't do moderation. He just kind of sits there. But it's
Yeah,
more
and he lets
it's more
transphobia fly.
it's more direct debate than what you normally get. But yeah, I would say, I don't know, thinking back, because I remember Destiny's early debates, and a lot of it was also still entertainment based, right? Let's think about like the big landmark debate, right? The JonTron debate. It was shocking. It was unveiling. It was wild. People were laughing at what was going on as JonTron's true values started to come out by the middle of the debate, right? So it was very entertainment based.
But also look at
even
how
more so
BreadTube
back
emerged
then, I
out
would
of that.
say.
Look how BreadTube emerged out of that, and how people like ContraPoints.
Yeah, BreadTube was
had-
ContraPoints, super entertainment based, right? So
no,
yeah.
actually, ContraPoints is super like intellectual and academic. If you actually pay
legit, but
attention
it's
to a
very much
script.
entertainment.
No,
that is
it's-
rap
it's-
hip and entertainment. But
It's
made-
absolutely entertainment based.
Maybe
though.
you came in through the entertainment side. I came in through the side of BreadTube, who actually liked having like elaborate philosophical / political discussions.
Okay, well, go find it. There's plenty. There are things out there that actually do that. There are areas out there that actually do that. That kind of content is available. If you want to go watch it, you can. Like,
Well, she
here's
wants
the
to
thing. You're just-
change it. She wants to come on and
here's
try and
here's
convince
what's
people to
here's what's
change it.
amazing is that
But-
again we can do it both. We can have both. Wait, we can have both, right?
We can't
As-
though, because you want to change how we speak, and if we have to change how we speak to fit into
I'm not
your,
changing how we speak.
you do. You want us to
She's
specifically use a certain
advocating
language.
she's
to-
advocating for people to do more, right? So she's saying, look, you don't have to use the shorthand, coarse language. You don't have to lean
That's
on
my
these old
point.
tropes. You can do more. You could do better than that.
Instead of
But
the cripple,
my-
it's
my-
the differently
my big-
able.
like, what I would
It's a
recommend-
classic George Carlin thing.
What I would
Extending words
what I
for
would
no reason
recommend
because people
what
feel
I would
that.
recommend to this is where I think Melanie, like, you could do something. Like, I think you could actually start a platform doing that kind of thing and really kind of get it out there and invite people on and turning it into something that has momentum and starts inspiring others to do the same thing. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get on to these different platforms and say, I think you should do what I want to do or what I would like to see you do. But if you led by example, you would have more power.
And you could
All I've offered
cultivate a
here is
community
constructive
and-
criticism that limits the ability for you to say this is just the way it is, because it's not. You
No, it's not
are
a
the
matter of
influencers.
It's just being the way that it is. It's
You
the way that I
influence how
choose
these
it to be.
spaces are.
Yes, and
Yeah. So you've
something
decided
you'll
at some
see over
point.
a longer
So
amount
you've
of
all
time.
decided at some point. Just let me,
Mhm.
please.
Sure.
You've all decided at some point that it's less of a sacrifice to let go of disabled people with your language, so long as it brings around more people who might be slightly more bigoted, because that's entertainment and that brings in revenue.
No.
All I'm
That's
asking,
not the good
all I'm
thing.
asking
Okay.
is, instead of like, whenever you hear somebody like come on like me and stuff like that, instead of rejecting it as, oh, you're trying to control all this, it's advice. It's constructive criticism. That's all it is. And if you want
I don't think
spaces
you're
where
literally enforcing control on me.
If
but
you
you're
don't
trying
want
to
men to be left
alter the way that
behind-
we speak. Don't use the word retard.
no, if you
It's
don't want men
bullshit.
to be left behind, and you want to have spaces where men actually have genuine discussion about men's issues, then stop doing this entertainment circus bullshit. It's not high school
No, no,
anymore.
no. Here's the thing. We had Jordan Peterson to actually have that conversation, and lefties
He did-
specifically
no,
the trans
they-
community
he's
went
terrible.
so fucking crazy because he doesn't wanna give me the respect my pronoun, which is a fucking ideological position, and respect is absolutely earned. I want to go back to what Tom said earlier. I think you should lead
See,
with
Jordan
common
Peterson is the
decency.
reason men are underrepresented.
No, the fact that
What?
people
What?
chastised
Are you
him
for
or
real?
whatever the fuck. The fact that they crucified him
Because
is the
anyone
reason
who's
why
reasonable,
no one
like
gives
any-
a fuck about feminist
any-
things and shit anymore because it's like
any
a cult
any
of extremism.
psychologist, any person who works within the fields that are pertain to men's issues, who studies this stuff, cannot get behind the prescriptions he makes. That's
Yeah.
why that's
Cleaning
why
your room
when,
and taking
when his
responsibility for your life
when
is a
his
bad
when his
prescription.
narrative became the dominant narrative of the online right, it absolutely shut out
okay,
real
we're not-
academics.
No, hold up. Stop. I'm not going down the rabbit hole of like he's a pipeline to the Nazi pipeline. No.
I didn't say Nazi. I said right. I said right wing. That's it.
Yeah, but people
Just
say
chill.
the extreme right, at least, and I'm referencing the general, like what you're saying there is
I know.
part of the
I'm just saying,
larger
don't take it
narrative
further
of-
than it goes. Just don't take it further than it goes. Okay?
Sure. He was compared to Hitler and Milo Yiannopoulos, both in one sentence.
I'm not
literally,
doing that.
unironically.
Don't bring
I know, I'm
other
just
people
saying.
into this.
But you're saying that he was the representative of the blah blah the right. You're alluding to that which those people
his
were so against.
narratives
Okay,
did
well,
take
we'll not
over the right wing, the online right wing. It did.
the narrative of having like responsibility and actually, picking your fucking.
Well,
Yeah,
like
so
his
self-up
definitions of
offset and providing
responsibility
for your
are quite
family,
quite
do well
interesting.
for
And
yourself, for your family.
All right, you're
his
going down a
definition-
rabbit.
I'm not
you're going
gonna.
down a rabbit
Yeah, I'm not
hole.
gonna debate
Hold on.
fucking
Yeah.
Jordan Peters right now.
I do have
The
to
point I'm
address
trying
that though,
make
because
is-
his definitions
No.
of responsibility
I
are
don't.
just
I don't care. Okay,
incredibly
we're not
self-oriented.
going down the Jordan
Just
Peterson
stop.
rabbit hole. Please
So he
stop.
doesn't really
Stop.
teach
Please
people
stop.
not to be
Okay.
selfish.
No, 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 no.
Stop, stop,
You
stop,
don't-
stop.
no,
We don't
no,
give a
you
fuck
don't.
about your opinion in this case. Stop. Respectfully,
Yes,
please.
you do.
I have been extremely patient with you, and you are very frustrating. But
this
I
is
am
just
extremely nice.
entertainment.
I'm cool. It's extremely nice. I'm extremely nice. But understand that, as Mantis said, I am flexing my patience. I am flexing my compassion, my understanding. I hope
And
that
I
whatever
appreciate
pushed you
that.
away from streaming
You're getting a little
eventually
too meta.
subsides. All right. Regardless, let me just put the Jordan
Let's get
Peterson
back on the
example aside
conversation.
and get back to
Oh
what I was
my
trying to say,
God.
which is
You're being
you
so
lead with
fucking rude,
compassion.
dude.
Me or
No, not you. Like you want to like Zonia's whole point
So-
was
I
you
was
want to
just waiting
stop.
for him
Let
to
me
get back
fucking
to his
talk. No,
point.
you're gonna let me fucking. You're gonna let me fucking talk. You're gonna let me fucking talk.
I am.
So Zonia
Right.
fucking just said that you want to fucking be a part of something else and get out of bread tube or whatever the fuck, right? So all these people are telling you different things, but you're not only are you insanely rude by interrupting every single person that's talking to you, you're not being even like open to it. So let somebody else talk to you. Take 3 seconds and then fucking respond. Like
How long
it's
have
not
I
that
let you been
difficult.
speaking, Jube? I feel like I've given you at least as much time to talk as you've given
No,
me.
you're being fucking rude. You just talk.
I
You
tried.
talk and talk
at
and
least
talk.
with at least JubeTube has been rambling a lot, and I think
Sort of my
Melanie has
thing.
been very courteous to
You
The
them.
whole
don't
point is
interrupt
But-
it's just
Jude
like
at
it's
some
just like
point.
we're
He'll
talking.
talk forever.
It's people are trying to
How
talk to
dare
you,
you
and
all
you're just
cut
not even
cut
being
each
open
other
to
off.
it.
How dare
So-
you all
Shut
just
the
cut each
fuck
other off
up.
there?
Okay, so here's what I'll say. So you mentioned before, just a bit ago, before you got into the rabbit hole with JubeTube on the JBP
Jordan
stuff,
Peterson. I
you
can
were
pull it back.
saying that. Hold on. You were saying
you go.
that that we should just get out of doing the entertainment stuff. But what if we like
didn't
the
s-
entertainment stuff?
I didn't say just get out of it, right? I said balance it. Like just
Oh,
do
I
a
didn't
little bit
catch
better.
that.
Instead
Ryan,
of
your
being at
mic
the
is
lowest
popping.
common denominator.
Ryan, your
Whoa,
mic,
yeah.
your mic is popping.
Mute.
Your mic
That
is
is
Oh,
crazy.
glitching.
sorry.
Wearing headphones at the same time. That was like
I thought
that was
me
like
for a sec. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. So what did
my
you say? Because
favorite
I must have
song.
missed it.
sorry me.
Yeah, you said balance or something. What was that?
Yeah, instead of just being the lowest common denominator, we can at least do like 1/3 where we have like these genuine debates. And like Zonia, I have had ideas, and anyone's welcome to take this idea of team debates and make it work. But the idea
No
is that you
thanks.
have a
Good
team.
night.
Okay, stop it. Okay, cool. So like if you're passionate about an issue, like I'm anti-gun, I want to have an anti-gun team. I want to be the captain of the team and have like 2 or 3 people on my team. Basically, we would go up against the pro-gun team. We would have 2 to 3 hours of debate just of the team members, not the captains. The captains might be like directing things behind the scenes or helping the discussion a bit with adding stuff where necessary, but minimal for the first couple hours. And then the captains have like an hour to actually go 1v1 at the end and go over everything that was talked about before. So that way we can have a more intellectual debate. The team can do multiple panels as a team and get better at like prepping and stuff like that as a team. Figure out what works. Maybe switch out members if someone's not able to keep up.
So this is like a workshop for like buddies to hang out and work on their debates. together. So
Yeah.
this is like a thing you can do like as a Discord club of like,
Yeah.
hey guys, let's work on our craft, let's hone our skills, let's sharpen our
But here's
tongue,
the
our
thing,
blade,
like-
let's get good at this. That's cool, that's fine.
But there's
What does
no
that have to do
stakes
with-
for anybody. Like, there's no stakes for anybody to have like debates on here, right? So if I lose a debate on something,
Dude, I
I'm
missed
not
your
known
channel.
as like
I didn't know that.
the pro gun debater.
You're
I'm not known as
debating
the
culture
pro
and
anything
channels.
debater, and having
What
that. can
are
be
you
kinda
known
good.
for?
Yeah, good point. What am I, anyways? So the
No,
point
I'm being like serious because like you came in here and like had all these points and why we shouldn't say this or do that, and it's just like, bro, I don't understand like why you're policing every single fucking angle why somebody can and cannot say a word. You know, like I understand that things can be hurtful and offensive and whatever, right? Like I've dealt with my own fair share of receiving that shit, but it's just like you're so unrealistic in the realm of like where you want to exist online. Like you can do whatever the fuck you want and
I
exist
think it's
like that.
unrealistic to
but,
be
like,
like
it's
we can be
incredibly
slightly less
unrealistic.
toxic. You think it's
Yes.
unrealistic?
It's not
to
toxic though. Here's the thing. Hey, I was gonna ask this earlier. Tom said you
Yeah.
should generally walk in and be a positive person. And what I was trying to say was, yes, I believe you should lead with common decency. That's what's called common decency. That the pronoun
Sure.
thing is actually a favor because it's a preference, and to respect it is going beyond decency. Sure, we'll call respecting pronouns a common decency thing, and we'll say it's 2023. Fine.
Oh no. Please don't freeze OBS.
But respect is above that, and it's like
It
it's
didn't
not.
freeze OBS.
At the end of the day, the context matters. And if all these people are like calling each other retarded or like, oh, KYS, saying whatever it is, and we're all chilling, having a good time.
I'm
My
in
question is,
shock.
because you were saying these words hurt you and they have this effect because they might, validate or vindicate some of your insecurities or whatever it might be. What amount of power do you feel that you have to be more resilient or to become immune to, or to recontextualize? And I was saying this to Katnin before. I think if someone comes on your Twitter and says, hey, you're a piece of shit, you're worthless, you should go, that reading that is going to hurt you. That's why Joe Rogan does not read comments, and that is great advice. Disengage with the toxic. You do not need to intake that information. You do not. It is not a need, and it is not a right to engage in these spaces. It's a privilege. It's a decision. It's a luxury, in fact, to have the time, the resources, and the technology to even be in this realm. You're already in like the top whatever percent of the fucking
Wait,
planet. So
just so I can
point is,
clarify,
it's what power and responsibility you have for your own emotional stability. Sorry, go for it.
before I answer, you're not doing the whole like, oh, this is a first world problem thing, are you?
No. I'm saying
No.
that this is
Okay, then I can I have my
retarded
response.
problem.
He's
You have no
asking
response?
what you're like
Yeah,
what you
what
can
Yeah, I have a
power
right
do
to
you have?
advocate. I have a right to advocate for myself.
Of course, and
Okay,
advocating for you
okay.
is being fragile.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
I'm
if you wanna
asking
put it
you-
that way.
No. I want to make sure I'm actually clear because I think there's a misunderstanding here. I was asking you, like, if someone tells me I'm a piece of shit, and then I think about it, or they call me a misogynist, and I'm like, do I actually fucking hate women, or are they getting upset about a certain thing I said, and it's really more about they're like triggered and unable to take this criticism, or me questioning this weird stat that I find to be uncomfortable in some way. It doesn't mean I treat women like shit or I actually fucking hate them. I just think that little statistic is alarming. And so
Well,
but they have
misogyny
a
is not just
perception-
treating women like shit or hating them. That's
It's hate.
a reductive
That's
way of
contempt
putting
from
it.
women. What the hell is misogyny?
He's trying to say that like it's the validity of the word and how it's being used. Is it actually being used correctly in a way that they should adjust the way that they are or how they're acting?
Exactly. Do I actually need to change because they're correct that am I actually being a piece of shit, or is it
Why-
just them being upset? So,
So why would
for
a
you-
feminist, for example, say that like misogyny is telling a woman that she needs to smile more?
You're missing
Well,
the point.
No, but yeah, you're completely missing the point. What I'm
I think
asking
you're missing
you
the point
is-
of misogyny.
No, hold on. Let me.
Oh my fucking
This
God.
isn't about the misogyny. It's an analogy. What I'm trying to ask you is when someone says something to you, like someone calling me a misogynist, I have to process that, and then it either bounces off or I take it in and go, oh, maybe I have some work to do. For you, what amount of power or responsibility do you have for when someone says something, you can go, he's just being derogatory, and that's not worth my own emotional impact or being affected by that, or
Well,
hey,
it's
this
just-
person's ignorant, and so it's not something I need to actually be hurt by because they're literally just stupid. And you
Generally
can, like,
speaking, like we just had this conversation now. You said the R slur. I'm not really holding that against you, because it was mostly descriptive. And the point of that being like, this space, I do know that is more derogatory. My point being that if someone were to first join here from a space where that isn't said like that, you're gonna push them out, especially when they're more sensitive to it. And so
wait,
really, it's
what does that have to do with your own? The question was about like your ability to be resilient to someone else's words.
And you can tell.
Like, what
you
amounts
can
of power
really
do you
tell,
have?
like,
Because you're
Yeah, it
saying it's
depends
like,
how well I
men
know
treat
them.
like garbage. All the women have like no power.
so the more you
The
know
women
them,
can never
the
be more powerful
more
than the
resilient you are,
men.
or
The
the
king's
less.
rule.
no, I
queen's
just
might
the
get
more
a
I know
little
them, the
say,
more
but
I know
not
the context in
really.
which they're saying
And
it.
then people are like, oh, this is realistic.
Sure, and so if it's
because
just
in
some
real
random
life,
person,
men
or like
have all the
we
power,
just met in
so-
like a voice chat or whatever, but like I'm effectively some random guy with a
Bro,
voice.
this is
and a
like my
name.
first debate with Destiny, and you start screaming, "Kill
That's
yourself!"
crazy cooling.
Is that what happened?
Oh my fucking god.
No, just as an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
haha.
Yeah, I guess sure. Yeah, I guess in that moment, say it's your first debate with whoever the fuck, and they're like, "Oh, bro, you should off yourself." What amount of power do you have to not be like, "Oh, this person now has control of my agency and my emotions"? To say, "Oh yeah, that's
That's not
just
what I
some
said.
asshole who's." No,
I
I'm
never
asking
said that
you,
they
like,
have control of agency. I said that they have influence on like that person's decision making process down the road, and if their decision making process is already pointing towards suicidality, that there's a good reason to believe that it can only make it worse.
Okay, so what amount of power do you have for your
So,
own emotional?
Yeah, that's
stability?
that's
That is the question.
Yeah, the
That's
one where
me.
like I take what information I can to ascertain when the context is right. But at the end of the day, like
Huh?
this is the
Sorry, that
like
might have just gone over my
this
head.
even if this like I could say I take full responsibility, right? And you would still have to do better because I'm only speaking for myself.
No, we don't have
And-
to do anything. We could call you a retard till the end of fucking time. Like, but it's not gonna change my fucking life. I'm gonna go to bed at night.
I just
So
think it's a
you're gonna
little
deal with it or you're
ironic.
not
if
gonna
that-
deal with it.
I just
Everyone
think
can be more
I think it's a little ironic then if that's the only words that you can think of for descriptive
Oh no, I
language.
can
not
think
the
dumb
only words.
bitch. I
We
can
just
think
like that
fucking
word.
like idiot, stupid,
Yeah.
dumb
So you're
cunt,
basically
whore,
trailer
slut.
trash.
Like
This
I
is
have a
about
lot of
inability.
fucking words.
So you're
Like,
basically trailer
I
trash.
fucking-
None of those words
Oh,
are.
wait a
in the
minute, are you
Bible.
racist?
What?
Are you secretly racist? Did you just bring up
Really
trailer
hard
trash?
Yes,
for white people
yes.
to feel accepted in this
my white
space.
ass that grew up in Orange County is trailer trash. You fucking moron. That's all you got.
Sound like it.
God damn, you're a fucking. You are.
Racist against
Retarded.
who?
Yeah, retarded. Fucking retarded. Like,
Racist
The people who
against who?
statistically
like
live
you
in
have
trailer
such a
parks. What do you
small
think?
brain, like
Black
chipmunks are jealous of you. Like they want to have.
I think
they,
trailer parks
they
are a
want.
white thing, just in case if that wasn't on your
Fucking
radar.
God.
Oh.
I
Now who's
know.
using the racist tropes?
Great.
They come from
great.
somewhere,
What
do
are you
they
gonna
not?
do about it?
I think black poor people are considered to be in urban areas and white poor people are considered to be in trailer type areas. It's a stereotype, but there's also probably some amount of truth to this unfortunate reality that the poor whites that are neglected are in a slightly different location than the poor blacks.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't want to be called trailer trash, just don't say the shit that opens the door to it.
I don't
Speak
give a
like-
fuck.
Oh, so
what
wait a minute,
happens.
wait. So if you don't want to be a
Yeah.
fucking retard, it
These
gets
are my
called a fucking
opinions.
retard. Don't be fucking
Exactly.
retarded.
No.
To the point where I'm like, oh, the world would be better off this person. They should fucking kill himself. Oh, I win.
The
Game
most
set.
retarded thing you
Retards
can-
Those
suffer
retarded
from
ass
severe
speaking.
brain
The
death.
most
Okay,
retarded
so-
thing you can do is use an R slur when there's a million other better words to say.
I think the
Idiot,
easiest thing you could do
stupid,
is suck
dumb
a dick.
cunt,
Oh, got him.
retard,
Fucking-
Boring.
See, like,
fucking
again,
I mean, I'm sure there's better
fucking
words for trailer
so
trash as well.
lazy. Yeah,
But,
for
it,
fuck's sake.
but these are all words that I literally learned in a trailer park growing up.
Oh, okay, so it's projection.
story.
Great, awesome.
What?
This is great.
Yeah, so
I don't
was
give
you
a
guys
fuck.
calling the R slur.
I
apparently.
don't
So you're
care.
already
Does
like,
where
"Oh,
you
it's
learn
supposed to be
it
a
make it less
intellectually
or
and
more
emotionally
insulting?
inferior individual. Now that I've used more syllables, I am more sophisticated in my insults, and that makes it qualifying.
See, here's
like,
my
what are we
problem.
doing here?
I think the majority of
What are we doing
debate poll has been corrupted by people who actually just are too afraid to use big words, and they're afraid of smart people.
Nah.
No,
that's
I'm not
just
afraid of
copium.
them.
who don't want
I
to be
think
pretentious
that's
and pretend to be
copium.
Well, think
superior.
about like Tom's like I need to stare at boobs
That's
style
what people call the
content.
autism. No, that's because
What's
boobs
wrong
are
with
awesome,
that?
bro.
The
Dude,
chat
if
is
you're not
Have
sitting
you
here like
seen this
nice
girl's
tits,
rack?
and look how beautiful.
Yeah,
Nah,
that
nah,
sex
I
is.
gotta agree
unbelievable.
with
It's so
Nine
low.
Tails here.
It's
That's
so low
degenerate,
intelligent.
It really
It is
is.
degenerate,
Bro,
but it's still
are
fucking
you
quality
above
content.
sexual
Zoom in.
attraction?
It's better than having to listen to Nine Tails talk about literally anything.
True.
I
could
need
turn my
I
ears off
need
and
I
just
need
look at
attractive
them.
women on the
Literally
screen to pay
anything. Like,
attention.
I
I
would-
need
I would
attractive women
rather
on the
look
screen
at,
to pay
like,
attention.
Look,
I would
don't be
rather
ableist.
fucking
I have
look
ADHD.
at
I
halfway
need to be
decent
fucking
fucking
someone.
tits than listen to anything that comes out of Nine Tails' mouth. And
If
I'm
you
not
have
even a
ADHD,
boob
click
person.
Tetris.
I'd rather look at some good Latino thick asses. Those are some big words for you. Are you good with that? You dumb, dumb,
like
dumb,
Abby
dumb,
more,
dumb,
but-
dumb cunt. Stop talking.
You tried. You definitely tried.
Great
Thanks.
success. Yeah, the only person here who cares about extra syllables, like you don't want to say retard, you want to the mentally impaired. You want me to add extra to it so it's a longer sentence so that it feels more sophisticated.
No, I want
because
you to
a
think of something that
pretension.
isn't implicitly retarded in its own right.
Oh, so it's
I wish
okay
your
to be
mom
retarded when
swallowed
I'm being
you.
retarded. Excellent.
Like
I mean, I
when
probably
when,
swallowed
when,
too,
when
and
did the
that's because
IQ level
OCD
of debate poll go below 65? I'm just curious.
Oh, I'm not a
When was it
debater.
ever
I just like
above
shitting
65?
on stupid
What are we
people.
talking about here?
Like when Destiny started it, it definitely was. People were doing
People
so
go
much
average
better.
up quite a bit, to be
I'm just saying, if you watch a debate
You're
from
living in
then,
the past, man.
people were so much smarter, so much more intelligent.
Mhm.
So were the
Yeah.
commenters.
Wait, you think people were smarter in the
Right.
past? Actually, people do be getting dumber. but it is mostly leftist. Oh no, you're getting caught in that conundrum sometime.
I'm not really into IQ. Seems
I
like
know.
some pseudoscience.
I'm being hyperbolic.
What about some QIs though? We flip it and
JQ.
reverse it.
Do we have any
No, shut
JQs
up.
up in here?
Shut up. Shut
What
up.
about just QAnon?
Shut the fuck up.
QAnon.
Thank you. Oh
Tune
no,
in.
no, you're not funny. Like you're not anything. Like you're not entertaining. You're not like
Very
you
easy
haven't
to
taught me
upset.
anything. You haven't
Good.
fucking like I've gotten nothing out of you today. I've sat here
Congratulations.
in the chat talking and educating the fucking chat about different fucking
It's better
things
than
that I
you having a
actually
massacre
especially
against me.
like
Michael,
what?
do you
I gotta
feel
go.
do you feel at all like
Oh
you
my
might be
God.
kind of condescending and
coming on.
obnoxious?
Oh yeah,
Bye.
yeah. I'm
Cheers.
late on
Cheers,
thick, by
Tom.
the way.
Hey, Tom Saxon is still. Oh crap. Okay. I got like a lot of freaking channels. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4,